Hello, I am Xarkun. This is World of Warships Legends. Rank 11, William Sims on the screen, Hyde and Cunningham as inspirations. This is the build I'm using on the Tier 5 Premium American Battleship USS California. We'll take a look at my mod selection quickly and the overview tab of the ship before jumping into some gameplay. Notice I've got the secondaries mod and the propulsion mod installed. Why do I have the secondaries mod? Because the other choice is the main gun mod that speeds up turret traverse but slows down reload. I don't think that trade-off is particularly worth it for this ship. Now, the overview tab here, the ship is agile, above average ability to change direction. That is true. It's got a tight turning circle, but it's very slow. Ironclad, above average armor thickness, greater resistance to all forms of armor penetration. It is heavily armored, and it is really slow. So that slow thing on this overview tab, yeah, very much. California Tennessee class battleship, armed with 12 356mm guns, and possessing quite modest speed characteristics. That's a polite way to put it. After Pearl Harbor, she underwent thorough refurbishment, which significantly changed the ship's design and greatly enhanced her AA defenses. Entered service 1921, 2 ships in the series. Alright, well, now let's jump into some gameplay. We're going to be on Northern Waters in a domination mode game, playing the USS California. I'm going to go over the stats as I usually do. We'll be comparing them to the other Tier 5 American battleships, New Mexico and Arizona. Both of those have William Sims on them for their commander, and he influences some of the stats that I'm going to run down. So the California, 62,750 hit points with this build. That's slightly more than both the Arizona and New Mexico. 40% torpedo damage reduction, which is pretty excellent, and also the same as the New Mexico. It's got 12 356mm guns and 4x3 turrets, same number of guns as you'll find on the Arizona and New Mexico, although they are slightly different from both of those other ships. The California has what I think are 50 caliber Mark 7 guns. New Mexico, on the other hand, has straight Mark 7 guns, maybe 45 caliber, and the Arizona has something called Mark 9 guns. They fire out on the California to a range of 16.8 kilometers, which edges out the Arizona, but the New Mexico has them both beat by a couple hundred meters in terms of range. 30-second reload on the California. That's 4 to 5 seconds faster than both the Arizona or New Mexico. 42.9-second turret traverse is the same across all 3 ships on my build. And then the damage stats for the HE and the fire chance. 5,000 max HE damage, 30% chance to start fire. Same on all 3 ships. AP, slightly different. 11,340 max AP shell damage on the California. That's the same stats that you'll find on the Arizona, or on the New Mexico rather. The Arizona, for whatever reason, does about 200 less points of AP shell damage for who knows why. 19.1 knot top speed on this ship. You're not going to be breaking any speed records at all in this guy. It's ever so slightly slower, actually, than the New Mexico or the Arizona by about 0.3 to 0.4 knots. So the difference is marginal, negligible, all that. 640-meter turning circle, though, same as on all 3 ships. These ships are very slow, but they can turn very tightly. 15.5-second rudder shift time, functionally the same across all 3 ships. And 13.5 kilometer detectability by sea. Slightly stealthier than the Arizona by about 100 meters, and stealthier than the New Mexico, for whatever reason, by nearly a kilometer. Nevertheless, it's a very visible ship. You know, it's a battleship. Anyway, how does this ship play? Well, if you're familiar with the lower tier to mid-tier American battleship line, that is everything from the Wyoming through the Colorado, it plays a lot like that. plays a lot like the New Mexico and the Arizona. It's very slow. So one of the things you'll need to keep in mind is your positioning. You aren't going to be outrunning anything, and you aren't going to be chasing down anything either. So it's crucial for you in this ship and in these big, slow, hulking American dreadnoughts generally to pick a position on the map that's going to be viable for a good amount of time. Now, I've made an interesting decision here in this battle, which is partly why I chose it for this first impressions review on the California. You can see that my team is, for the most part, almost entirely pressing or pushing to the western side of the map. I'm coming out east, and I'm running into some opposition in the form of a Colorado, an Aoba, and a Podvoisky. Luckily, it's a Podvoisky because that is really no torpedo threat to me. The Aoba, on the other hand, HE spamming threat. Japanese HE is no joke, and the Aoba, despite the fact that it only has 6 guns, needs to be respected. Plus, it is a long-range torpedo threat. So, what I'm going to do is try and take out this Aoba first, as he's sitting on the capture circle. I don't really want him to take it. My team has secured 2 caps, so it's not a huge deal if the Aoba takes it. But hitting him and resetting his capture progress is yielding these green defender ribbons, which are very lucrative in terms of XP and credit earnings, and, I like that stuff, so I'm going to do that. Meanwhile, I've taken a position and I am kiting away from the Charlie Cap. The Aoba and the Colorado and the Podvoisky, I hope, are all going to follow me this way, and eventually, if they come far enough, they will hopefully run into my team, and my team will be able to support me and shoot at them. I was hoping that they wouldn't pause for long enough to take that Charlie Cap as I kite away from them, but no such luck. They were not tricked. They took the cap, and they are now following me, shooting at me, trying to kill me. The Podvoisky is shooting HE at me. I pay no attention to him right now. There's not too much he can do to me except set fires. The Aoba is my primary concern, but he is moving away out of a position where I can effectively fire on him, so instead I switch to the Colorado momentarily. Now, we haven't done a heck of a lot of damage. I find that partly that's because these guns are not the most accurate guns in the world, but there are 12 of them. So you can't have pinpoint accuracy if you've got 12 guns. The dispersion and the shell grouping is going to be a little wonky, but you throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. Now the Colorado and the Aoba have moved behind an island where they can't shoot me, leaving only the Podvoisky to deal with me. So I am going to get all my guns on him. You can see that he is trying to maneuver, but since his torpedo range is so very short, he's really got nothing he can do to effectively deal with me. He is, of course, sailing into torpedo range. My secondaries are opening up on him and scoring a couple hits here and there. But it's the main guns that are going to take him out. We're turning away immediately now from where he was in order to avoid his torpedoes, which are undoubtedly sailing our way, giving broadside or near broadside to the Colorado, and there are the torpedoes. They aren't going to hit us, so we are going to have to turn in. There's a Sinop there and a Colorado. They're both going to shoot at me. It seems like the armor on this ship, while it is angled, is capable of mitigating a good deal of the damage from 16-inch guns like the Colorado and the Sinop both have. So if this ship is up-tiered, facing 16-inch guns at tier 6, it's not going to wither under, fire that is too much for it. It's probably going to get penetrated as we did there by a single Synop shell, or there, but the penetration damage is as close to minimal as you're going to get. It'll add up after a while, of course, but it's nothing catastrophic, nothing too dangerous. We're turning in now toward the Synop and the Colorado. Unfortunately, my team has, well, they formed a bit of a lemming train in the beginning of the game. They did initially capture Bravo and Alpha. We're still holding Alpha, but the enemy team has taken Bravo back. I'm kind of hoping my team will come back, close in on these guys, and help take them down. Giving a little bit too much broadside there to an enemy Bayern. And you can see we're relatively close to all of these enemies. I find that in these dreadnought-style American battleships, it's not a bad idea to get close so long as you know there's not a torpedo threat there, because pretty much everything can outrun you. Colorado, giving broadside, we don't get to punish him as thoroughly as we would have liked, but we're putting the island between ourselves and the Synop so he can't continue to shoot at us, and we're kiting away yet again. Kiting away in these American dreadnought-style battleships, I don't know whether other people are going to think it's a good idea, but I think it's a good idea. These ships are so slow that you're really not going to get too far away from the enemies while kiting, and kiting puts you in an advantageous position to sort of swing around, open up your entire broadside and fire before closing the angle again, and using your pretty excellent armor to mitigate any incoming damage from battleships. And if things go awry, you can turn fairly quickly, turn around, and start nosing in toward the enemy again. You're never going to catch up to anybody, though, which is why I don't think this ship or the American dreadnought-style battleships generally should be played very, very far away from the action as snipers at the, max effective gun range that they have, if they are, and if the enemies move out of that effective gun range, you're going to have a very hard time catching them. So these are better played, I think, at more medium to closer ranges, but closer ranges when the enemy herd has been thinned out sufficiently and there aren't many torpedo threats around to cause you, trouble. Anyway, the Bayern is caught in a crossfire between the rest of the friendlies and me, the lone ship out here on this flank. Since he is giving me broadside, he's going to go down. Maybe not with that salvo, but hopefully with this one. Yeah, there he goes. So that just leaves the Synop left. The Synop is not really retreating. He's sort of posted up between the two islands here, giving flat broadside to a friendly cruiser and possibly a friendly battleship who might have shots on him. It's hard to tell on the small mini-map I'm looking at as I record this commentary, but we, in our California, are inching closer to the Synop ever so slowly. We're hoping that we can get a nice juicy broadside shot on this guy, but he is angled quite well, so we're going to try instead to take out his turrets. We don't, but somehow we get the high caliber medal even though all of our shells ricocheted. And then we hit him for minimal penetration damage in the superstructure. He's coming toward us. We are kind of trying to turn out of the way. The Synop is much faster than we are. It looks like he might be committing to a ram, and we don't necessarily want that. Although, now I kind of have no idea what he's doing, because his guns are not aimed at me. It appears that they're aimed at nothing in particular, and now they are, at least one of them is permanently disabled. He is definitely committed to the ram. He's not going to make it quite in time, though. He's got almost no health left, and his guns are not aimed this way, so we're going to be able to turn the ship around. Well, actually, we don't really have to. We just need to get the rear turrets in there, and then he's dead. So that's going to wrap up the battle. USS California, very fun ship, and entirely free to get through the Bureau project. Don't have to spend any doubloons on it. That right there, in my mind, makes it quite an attractive premium tier 5 ship. So, start the Bureau project if you haven't already, and get the ship. You got nothing to lose. You don't have to spend any doubloons on it at all. All it's going to take is time, and you'll have yourself a pretty solid tier 5 battleship. Hope you liked the video. If so, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.